So, I have to admit something to you guys. Flat Earthers are a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. To watch videos of them getting demolished, to hear their stupid arguments. For a very long time, I've enjoyed the ripping apart of Flat Earthers. I see them as sort of really a symbol of how dumb and cognitively dissonant people can be. Now, we just got out of a segment in which we discussed Joe Rogan fully falling off the deep end. And I feel that the theme of this whole stream is going to be about how people get radicalized. And I feel that looking at the Flat Earther community is a really good example of just how brain-broken people can be simply to avoid admitting that their worldview has been blatantly disproven. Now, recently, a megachurch pastor discovered the Flat Earth debate online, and he was like, there are people who think the Earth is flat? Huh. And so he investigated that scene of, like, flat earthers versus science educators and all that. And he found that there was one single point that they all unanimously agreed would prove or disprove the roundness of the Earth. Because this was for a long time seen as something that no YouTuber or content creator could ever actually go and do, especially not to such the parameters that you could definitively prove that it was a fully working good experiment. The idea was that if you could go to Antarctica, which flat earthers claim you're not allowed to just go to, like it's guarded by the military because that's where the ice wall is, if you could go there during the winter and see the sun in the sky for days straight with it never setting, just going over your head like a halo in the sky, which is what the model of the globe Earth would suggest would happen, and what you would see, but could not happen on a flat Earth due to the way that their model works, that, like, it would prove that the Earth is round, and if it didn't happen, it would prove the Earth is flat. If the sun sets, the Earth is flat. Now, this was always something that, like, no one could actually go and do. So, like, flat earthers would just suggest that was the only way they could definitively see on Earth with their own eyes evidence the Earth is round. It was a massive bluff for a lot of these flat Earth grifters. Remember, they are grifters. They are grifters leading sheep. And so this pastor, this megachurch pastor, is like, all right, I've got the money to make this happen. I'm going to contact the biggest science educators that make a thing out of dunking on flat earthers. I'm going to contact the largest flat earth people on the internet, and I'm going to invite them on an all-expenses-paid trip to Antarctica, where they will all be given and paid for the equipment they need to live stream for like 48 hours straight. They're being out in the middle of Antarctica, watching as the sun does not set. And so, when they make this offer, all the flat earth people are trying to dodge. They're all dodging this shit, okay? A few agree, like small ones that don't really have much skin in the game of the flat earth sphere, like they're not super successful, they don't have a big grift going for themselves. All the big people, though, who make their money off the flat earth stuff, they refuse. They say, you'll just fake it. You'll put us in a Vegas dome, right? But they manage to get some people to agree, and funnily enough, the guys who do the science education stuff offered to pay for the their own expenses to go to Antarctica. They paid for it themselves. They didn't even take the money from the pastor to do the trip. They were just so giddy to do it, to be on this trip, to go to Antarctica, spend time there, and to prove the flat earthers wrong. And so this pastor hosts this event. He gets flat earthers and non-flat earthers alike together to fly to Antarctica and live stream, using Starlink, to live stream the sun not setting. Of course, the sun did not set. The sun proceeded to just make circles in the sky for days straight, as you expected to do in the southern hemisphere, in the South Pole during winter. And the flat earthers that were there had to concede. They conceded, and now their thing is that they're ex-flat earthers that do anti-flat earth videos. They weren't very big as flat earthers anyway, so they had a much better business opportunity being ex-flat earthers, to be fair. And so all the big flat earthers now need to discredit these guys and cope about how that couldn't have possibly been real. Despite it being the most incontrovertible evidence you could really hope for these people, they still decided, nope, I don't believe it. This isn't enough evidence. And the meltdown has continued. Does this remind you of anything? Does this not remind you of the copium of the right wing? As they spread their misinformation and their conspiracies, they get disproven. They find new explanations for how their conspiracy getting disproven actually proves they were right all along. So I've got a video here from Simon Dan, great channel, going over the most recent round of copium from the Flat Earth community. And if this does not sound like the average conservative pundit these days, then you need your ears checked.
Now been 6 weeks since Will Duffy took a group of people to Union Glacier, Antarctica to witness the 24-hour sun in the Southern Hemisphere summer. And still, the flurfs are doing everything they can to discredit it. This is your final experiment fallout review.
The final experiment. They should do one next where they go to the Arctic during the winter and watch as the sun never comes up.
Hello all and welcome along to another video with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we begin today, a quick thank you to the sponsors of this video, Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Whether your site place designed to build a unique, so seamless, and then you can make top traffic engaged. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/SimonDan to get 10% off your first purchase of any website or domain. Right, on with today's video, which as we all know is the third edition of the Final Experiment Fallout Review. When I started this series, I honestly didn't know how long it would last for. But true to form, the flurfs are still banging on about this. So we continue to review and comment. We start with a short clip on YouTube from Angelo Sotaro. It's not very long and it's titled Proof that the Midnight Sun was faked. Interesting, let's have a look.
Alright, let's see it, guys. Do you see it? Does that technically count as setting? Globe head's destroyed. The sun went behind the mountain. That counts as setting.
Now, not really being sure about this, I had to dive into the comments and see what Angelo said. Will Duffy also made a time lapse of 36 hours at the base camp. If you compare both videos, you see that on Will Duffy's video, there are no shadows over the base camp. The Japanese video shows shadows and the sun is at the same height as Will Duffy's video. The reason why they went to another spot to video the midnight sun was because at the base camp the sun would disappear behind the mountains. Also, Jaren said in one of his live streams,
Wait, is he actually claiming that the sun going behind the mountains? Oh my god.
Cold when the sun went behind Mount Rossman because of the shadow. So how can it be that on the 36-hour time lapse at the base camp there are no shadows? So Angelo thinks that
one base camp next to a mountain, one out in the middle of an ice field. How is it that simultaneously one base camp was in the sun and the other was in the shade of a mountain? Checkmate, globetards.
because there was a shadow cast in a time-lapse video, which by the way is 10 years old, and that there was no shadow in Will's time-lapse, that means the whole thing was fake.
That's what they call you, by the way, if you believe the Earth isn't flat. You're a globetard. Remind anyone of anything. Remind anyone of anything. You're a globetard if you don't think the Earth is flat. They used to say globehead, but now they say globetard because, like, the right and just the internet in general has gotten so nasty. Like, it's so acceptable to just have insult names for, like, people that disagree with you that now it's globetard. You know, libtard if you're left-leaning.
Well, the video in question from Angelo was shot by a Japanese Antarctic explorer, Shigeki Nishikawa. and he filmed that time lapse on December the 9th. And that's around a week before the final experiment team filmed theirs. Depending on filming location and the fact that the sun would have been higher in the sky for Will when he filmed his time lapse, means that there may not have been as big a shadow cast by that mountain. The desperation continues, it seems. Moving on, if you remember from the episode that we last...
I don't know if he shows it in this one, but one of the Flat Earth people also claimed that Satan made the fake sun. That the sun was fake, and Satan made it. That the devil from the Bible made a fake sun in order to deceive people into believing the earth is round.
On this, Pastor Dean Odell claimed that the devil himself could have organised or even been the 24-hour sun that the guys saw in Antarctica. Well, a new flat earther on the block called Shepherd, go and subscribe and check him out, links in the description, noticed this from the pastor. Have a look.
Dean is now taking the stance that many other flat earthers are taking, that the lights in the sky don't prove the shape of the earth. Even though, in his debate with Greg Locke, he clearly stated that he thought the lights in the sky prove the shape of the earth.
And guess what? I don't care how many lights in the sky we see, it doesn't change. The floor is flat.
Oh, is this him?
And let's see if the sun does a 360-degree circle all the way around us. If so, it's a ball.
Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want...
A lot, just like with conservative pundits, when there is no way to falsify some bullshit they can say, they will say it. If they can make up an unfalsifiable lie that's like a big lie, they will tell that lie. And they'll bluff, believing that they'll never end up getting caught. And when they do, they'll just shamelessly claim that somehow them getting caught in a lie actually proves they were even more right.
Want to be listening to a pastor who's actively changing what the truth is and deceiving his followers.
This is a great catch, Shepherd, and proof that the flat earthers love to move the goalpost. Next up, Level Earth Observer, who despite last month saying goodbye to the final experiment, has since made another 6 videos on it. He seems to be coping the hardest right now. Moving on though, I thought it'd be nice to see what some of the mainstream media sites are saying about the final experiment. Here in the UK, The Sun says, watch world's most famous flat earther admit on...
You know what's so, like, depressing about this? It's easy to watch this stuff and just laugh at them, but the same cognitive dissonance, the same mental inability to critically think is what's created the Trump era that we're in. It's what's leading the politics of the country that I live in, you know? It's just that most Americans aren't sold on the idea that the earth is flat. They're sold on the idea that vaccines are evil and that the left is made up, you know? Like, that we're literally getting to the point now where the claim is that there is no left. That it was always just made up to cover up corruption in the government or something. Like, they live in this fantasy world. And, like, the more people... It's not just a fantasy world for conservatives to believe. It's a fantasy world that, if they express it as the truth, if they talk about it like, if we watch the Joe Rogan segment I just did, the way Joe Rogan and his guests do, as if it's like a bygone conclusion, all this stuff is true, and they're just talking about it, you know? When people hear that and they buy into it, they're not just buying into the worldview, they're buying into a really radical form of the worldview out of the gate. The idea that there is a conspiracy against them and that they cannot trust anyone who dissents against that idea. Because the dissenter, the people who are trying to hurt you, are trying to tell you the conspiracy isn't real, so you can't trust any fact checkers. Frankly, as Joe Rogan said himself, fact checking should be illegal.
I'm wrong after 9,000-mile, £30,000 trip to Antarctica for final experiment. He's not the
And keep in mind, 8 years ago, this was the anti-vax community. It's easy to forget because anti-vax is like the line you must toe as a Republican now. But go back 10 years ago, the anti-vax community and the flat earth community were 2 eggs in the same exact basket. Anti-vax was just seen as the slightly less insane conspiracy, and that's the one that took off. But honestly, I could totally see a world in which the Republican Party adopts flat earth, and that you must toe the flat earth line or you will be ousted from the Republican Party, from the MAGA party. I can see that happening. Absolutely.
World's most famous flat earther for one. And as far as I'm aware, the trip didn't cost £30,000 each. On top of that, they had the map showing a flight directly to Antarctica, which is not how it happened. Now, not entirely bowled over by the Sun's coverage of the trip, I thought I'd check out
Wait, yeah, true. This is supposedly the flight. According to the flat earthers, this is how the flight would have had to have been, but that's not the flight that they took. They took a flight from California to Chile, and then from Chile to Antarctica. They had to stop for fuel in Chile. Like around here. Like that was like explicitly a big part of the whole final experiment thing. So even this flat earth, they're trying to like plot out their supposed path. Didn't account for the fact they stopped here.
how it happened. Now, not entirely bowled over by the Sun's coverage of the trip, I thought I'd check out Lad Bibles. Now, Lad Bible and Sport Bible, in my opinion, are two of the worst media outlets in existence.
True.
They get so much wrong and sensational.
Lad Bible is literally like it's just the British version of if a website was called Bro Bible in America, and it's all supposed to be like right-wing lad news. It's a lot of it's just tabloid shit. It's nonsense, fake news bullshit. But they do a lot of like conspiracy stuff too. They're obviously very right-leaning platforms as well.
Sensationalise so many headlines. First off, in their article, they said this: but nobody has ever really been able to convince a flat earther that some of their views may not be entirely accurate until now. Now, we know this to be utterly untrue.
Yeah.
There are several well-known ex-flat earthers. They also said under Jeran's photo that he had changed his mind on the flat earth debate. Again, not true. He did not renounce flat earth until over 10 days later. Maybe I'm being picky here, but
damn.
as publications, I feel like they should get this stuff right. Well, let's finish today, as usual, by looking at what people are saying on X and Facebook.
Lad Bible, I thought Lad Bible was just a Facebook trend farm channel. All of these right-wing outlets and the ones that peddle these crazy conspiracy theories also just pump out as much trend clickbait as possible. Everything from Facebook to Twitter now lets you monetize clickbait and misinformation as long as it gets enough views. And so, yeah, like they just like, it's the same shit as like, wait, Donald Trump is running a crypto scam? I thought he was the president. Like, yeah, exactly.
Facebook. James Hawke. I'm undecided about the recent so-called final experiment Antarctica. I've not followed it closely, but from what I can see, there's much suspicious about it all and the characters involved. I hope at this stage the simple truth and logic is filtering out to those with ears to hear. I do realise it's the strangest thing to most people, this new idea that the world is not a planet in outer space. It sounds like you're already decided, James. You've not followed it closely, but you can see some suspicious. Well, no comment there, James. I'm sure you're a lovely guy. Flat Earth Debate Forum says, so when does the final experiment get peer-reviewed by actual scientists? Otherwise, it's just a YouTube actors gathering.
Because the final experiment was a literal experiment. Also, no, I'm not going to get stunlocked in this. He'll explain it, I'm sure.
Yeah, scientific papers get peer-reviewed. If anyone decides to write a paper on the final experiment, then yes, I'm sure it will be. Until then, I guess you'll have to cope harder about the 24-hour sun. The Indigenous American Psychedelic Riders of Inner Space says, the final experiment turned out to be the final nail in the solar system coffin. There's more flat earthers than ever now, thanks, bro.
Isn't this kind of similar to how right-wingers say, you lefties being so triggered and woke? Now, that's why Trump won. Now everyone hates leftism because you lefties are so insane. Enjoy losing. Like, I get those comments a lot, at least on my channel. I'm sure you guys have seen them too. Isn't it interesting how flat earthers are the same? Like, they are trained to take joy in the unhappiness of those that are not flat earthers. It's like laughing, crying emoji. There's more flat earthers now than ever. Thanks, bro. Haha. Of course, this isn't true. I mean, it might be. It actually probably is true. There almost certainly are more flat earthers now than ever. Like, we're watching as the concept of science and truth dissolves. And so, yeah, we're going to see more flat earthers over time. And basically, the gloat here, they think the gloat. This person is gloating, saying, you with your evil fake experiment, you just proved flat earth right and brought more people to our side. But what the actual thing is, what's actually happening here is this person who is blatantly wrong, who has been proven wrong as blatantly as one could, seeing that and gloating about how being proven wrong has actually brought more people to their side. It's the same thought process that conservatives use when they gloat about their victories. Like, yes, we successfully lied to a lot of people and they believed it. Ha 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 ha. Like, that's how these people operate. They take joy in spreading misinformation.
How so? I don't think there are, you know. Of course, Jeren's left the community and I've seen others on Facebook start doubting it too. I think it's an overall net loss, my friend. Trevor Long says, Antarctica being just another continent has never been true. Exploration was halted for reasons. They only bring you to...
I can't lie. I really love flat Earth maps. Like, not the ones that end at, like, the Antarctica ice wall that supposedly exists. The ones that go beyond. Like, where they've got these, like, fantasy continents beyond Antarctica. One of them is Mu. You guys ever, not Mew, M-E-W, but M-U. You guys ever watch that Spirit Science guy? Vosh used to rip him apart a lot, like, back in the day. He's one of the, like, flat Earth people that, like, popularized the theory of the lost continent of Mu, or Mu, being beyond the ice wall. And the idea is that Mu is, I think they're supposed to be indigenous people of Mu, and they are supposed to be, like, angels, but also descendants of Israeli Jews from the Bible. So yeah, that's what this map is. It's like, here, let me see if I can find, like, the official flat Earth map. Full flat Earth map. Dude, I am obsessed with these maps. They're insane, but they're so fun. Like, at the end of the day, you got to remember, why does flat Earth take off like this? A big part of it is that it is a more exciting possible future, or possible, like, reality than the one that we live in, at least to them. They find it more exciting. Let me see if I can find that really interesting one. Why can't I find it? It's one of my favorite flat Earth maps. It's so cool. This Reddit page is, this flat earther map looks awesome, even if, it's insane. The world beyond the ice wall. So here's the ice walls of Antarctica. You've got Geminia. What is this supposed to be? Pitatia, Libris, Atum, Aten, Horus, Atlantis, Lemuria. You've probably heard Lemuria from the Spirit Science guys' videos. Formosa Ultima. Holy shit. The Telekinesia, Isle of Anubis, Isis, Osiris, Nemo, Magellan's Isles, the continent of Odin, New Caria, I think is what that's supposed to be, Valkyrie. Like, it's all, like, stuff pulled from mythology and stuff. We've got the frozen wastes and the scorched wastes, of course, very, very famous locations. The walls of Asgard. Cool. And then, of course, everyone knows the Abyssal Ocean. The world building, though. And that's the thing, right? The flat earthers and the far right, with their conspiracy theories, they tell an interesting story. It's exciting to think that you're part of this, like, small sect of people who realize that there's a bigger world out there than the one that they'll let you know about. Oh, yeah, they also have Hyperborea. Yeah, where it's all white people. They've got that one, too. The white supremacist flat earthers, there's, like, a continent beyond the ice wall called Hyperborea that's all just white, like, albino people. And it's supposed to be, like, the, like, only white people continent or something like that.
A trapped single Arctic location done controlled tourism style. Even the boat race is totalitarian controlled. It's 10 to 14 identical yachts controlled.
Very good point, Delancers. Pseudoscience is more easily understood by the average person. Pseudoscience, like phrenology, flat earth, anti-vax, miasma theory of disease, four humors, disease with self-replicating poison. You're so right. Like, think about, like, this miasma theory. Instead of recognizing germ theory, that there are microscopic things you cannot see that affect your health, the idea that the smell of something disgusting, something you can actually detect with your senses, is actually the cause of sickness, would be far more believable. You're very right about that comparison. Pseudoscience targets those without the will or education, the education or the will to be educated, and it appeals to their lack of knowledge. Fundamentally, it's easier for them to understand, so they choose to understand that than believe that the truth is something too complicated for someone of their education level to fundamentally get. Like, they can't just say, there are smarter people than me that understand this better than I do, and maybe they should be the ones in charge of this. It has to be, I know what's really going on. I know what should be really done. They're just lying to us. It's a conspiracy. They're covering everything up.
Roller by a totalitarian skipper from start to finish. They even have fake forms you can fill out to feel like you're participating in a real race. It's literally not a relevant form. It's all phony, pony, baloney, hoopah nonsense. Nothing is proved.
Apparently you fill out a fake form that like legally binds you to have to lie about Antarctica being real if you go on a fake tourist trip to Antarctica. So every person who's ever gone to Antarctica signed a form where they agreed to lie about Antarctica being real.
Proving a massive continent and only tiny.
They have to claim this because every year there's like a circumnavigation race of Antarctica. And if Antarctica is a massive ice wall, you have to literally circumnavigate the like diameter of the planet, or more than that, really. Like, this is an insane distance to circumnavigate. But if it is actually just, you know, the continent at the bottom of the world, then it takes as long as it takes in real life, not the like months and months long sailing journey that this would be. Yeah, pretty much they have to find an excuse for how the circumnavigation boat races are somehow not real, because like thousands of boat captains taking their boats out to race around the continent, and so there has to be some explanation for how all those people are in on it, right?
Many glimpses and edits exist. Nobody is even allowed to fly a drone out of line of sight. Speaks volumes. Not even so-called scientists are allowed. It's all stupid. You can't fly a drone out of line.
I love how long Australia is, by the way. That's Australia right there in the flat Earth model, by the way. Look up any map of flat Earth, because they have to make Antarctica into a big circle, and Australia is so close. Australia ends up being stretched into this like insane shape. Look at the shape of Australia down there. Look at that. Every flat Earth map does this to Australia.
Not even so-called scientists are allowed. It's all stupid. You can't fly a drone out of line of sight anywhere, Trevor, let alone Antarctica. What does this prove? And actually, at any one time, there's up to 5,000 scientists living in Antarctica during the Antarctic summer. And I found this one.
Gotta remember, though, they signed the contract. They're legally bound to lie about the existence of Antarctica for the rest of their lives. They have to say it's real.
On Facebook too. This one is laughable. The three people on the bottom photo are all very close together, so their shadows will look the same. The three examples on the top photo are all really far apart.
Are those even shadows? Those are reflections, right? Because their shadows are right here. These are their reflections. Like, I'm not wrong, right? That's their shadows going sideways, and these are their reflections on the wet sand. Although then she wouldn't have a shadow. I don't know. Light is fucky. But as you can see, it's reflecting off of sand.
Apart,
but, okay.
So perspective comes into play here. This is just rank intellectual dishonesty from whoever posted this one.
How do flat earthers explain the 4 seasons? I have a feeling they'll crack about the 4 seasons thing. No, they've got an explanation for everything. Remember, it's just like Republicans. I'm not trying to just specifically dunk on flat earthers here. We're learning about the way that human minds get to this level of derangement that we've reached, this mass derangement. And looking at the flat earth community, it's like, I don't feel I have a responsibility to be able to thoroughly debunk flat earth. Like, I don't think I have to do that for you guys. I think most of you are pretty solidly not going to fall into that shit. So we can just look at their rhetoric, look at their propaganda, look at what they fall for, and just focus on the ways in which they try to dodge accountability for being proven wrong, and how they warp the truth and reality into something that supposedly supports their conspiracy theory and their misinformation. This is the same thought process that creates MAGA crazies.
really poor form. Well, there we go. Another final experiment review, all done
Nice.
and dusted. And
I love Simon Dan. His stuff is really good. I watch his content constantly. I highly recommend that you subscribe to this guy. In fact, I'm going to drop a link to his channel in the chat right now. Like I said before, my main point in showing you guys this video and going over all of this was to draw the comparisons between the right and the flat earth community. Not the entire right, but the really crazy, radical, disconnected entirely from reality right. How did we get to the point where the majority of people, it feels like, at least that are engaged in politics, have just decided that reality is whatever they decide it is? How did we get to this point? I really think there's no better example of how people get there than the flat earth community. And I low-key think the flat earth movement is the future of the conservative right. I think, for all intents and purposes, very quickly, Elon Musk's aspirations for space are going to dissolve, as he's got plenty more to worry about here, taking over America and the government. And we're going to see is, like, I don't think he's going to have any interest in saying the Earth is... I bet Elon Musk will be the guy who comes out to say, the Earth is actually flat. I could see it. Meanwhile, he's still selling satellites and Starlink, but the Earth is flat. I could see it. Idiocracy is real, folks. It's happening. Hey, listen. Just put the Gatorade on the plants, all right? Just put the Gatorade on the plants. It's where we're heading right now, okay? That's the future we have in front of us. Anyway, listen, if you guys enjoyed this segment, if you found it entertaining, enjoyable, or educational in any way whatsoever, then please consider leaving a like and a comment. Every single thumbs up and every single little comment you leave down below, totally free by the way, massively boosts the channel in the algorithm and boosts the channel, or the streams, live as you're watching them. I really do appreciate it. And of course, if you haven't already and you want to see more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow my social medias linked down below, including my fan Discord, where I'll be hosting a watch party immediately after stream. It's going to be a blast. I hope to see you guys there. We're going to be watching more Invincible. We're on Season 1 right now, getting, some new people into it, so it's going to be a great time. I hope you guys are down to join. It's going to be very fun. With that said, regardless of how you support me, especially, by the way, if you want to support me directly, you can donate, subscribe, or gift a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or you can support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or you can buy some Xander Hall merch through the Streamlabs link down below in the description. Regardless, though, of how you support me, I love you all very much, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again very, very soon.